Hello, welcome to this video where I'm going to do a chapter by chapter book breakdown of Sunrise of the Reaping. So this will be spoiler for each chapter of the book. I'm going to go over chapter 1 in this video that is going to consist of page 1 to page 22, and I'm just going to get some big points and some Easter eggs that I caught. Well, first of all, how in the world did I come up with this video? Well, first of all, subscribe to the channel for more content. Anyways, how in the world did I get started with this? Well, I was reading Sunrise on the Reaping. I was enjoying it, and originally I thought about just reading the book all the way through. And by the time I picked it up again, I was like, you know what? I should really take notes because there's too many things in the Hunger Games that I could possibly miss, or even the prequel book Ballad of Songbirds Snakes. Sunrise of the Reaping takes place in the 50th Hunger Games in District 12, and we get to know the main character, Hamish Abernathy. His birthday is actually on Reaping Day, aka July 4th, or as we know in America, is Independence Day. So, he lives in the Seam, which is the poorest area in the district. He has a girlfriend named Lenore Dove. I'm going to get to that in a minute. So, don't forget that. Don't forget about his girlfriend. Okay? What the 50th Hunger Games is the second quarter quell. And for this quarter quell, there's going to be double amount of tributes in the 50th Hunger Games. Alright, let's get to know Haymitch a little bit. Haymitch is a bootlegger who makes some liquor for a living for some money to live by. So his family are known as rebels, and they carry the scent of sedition, scary and seductive rebel qualities. And his father actually died in a coal mine fire. And there are rumors in 12 that it was no accident, that it was intentional, and they were actually targeted by the Capitol and all that sorts. Moving on to Hamish's girlfriend. Hopefully you didn't forget her name. So Lenore Duff is his girlfriend. She is Covey. And if you don't know from Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, that we get to know about the Covey from the 10th Hunger Games, where Lucy Gray and, that's in Snow's point of view. But we don't care about Snow, right? So, Lenore's name is a dead girl, and a half or a shade of gray. And her name is actually based on a poem. And what's so different about this one, like, it relates to a lot of poems and all that stuff, and particularly about Lenore. It's so funny that it has so many poems in there, but it gives a deeper perspective of names, of why names are so important. Also, about her name, as you know, the first name is a ballad, and the last name is of a color. So her last name, Dove, is a warm gray with a slight purplish or pinkish tint. And let's just say she likes singing dangerous songs. And also, we get to know that one of Hamish's friends, whose name is Burdock, and his last name's Everdy. And I had this wild theory that he could actually be Katniss's father. And it's funny to know that in later chapters it confirms a little bit more about his family. So a quote that stuck to me really was from page 10 when Lenore tells Haymitch about, you can't count on things happening tomorrow just because they happened in the past. So with the sunrise of on the reaping, you can't guarantee another day to come just because of what happened. And Lenore gives Haymitch a flint striker that has a big role in throughout the book. It comes pretty much in handy to Haymitch's advantage. And on this flint striker, it has half of a snake and half of a bird, which is on the cover. And then we get to the reaping ceremony. There's this slogan about no peace. And no peace has this significance in the book. And also it foreshadows what's to come later in the book as well. And ultimately what's going to happen to Haymitch. So we find find out about this girl named Astrid March. Why am I referring to her? Because I believe that she is Katniss's mother. And from page 16, it said that Burdock's nuts about her. And I feel like because he really likes her and all that, and it looks like she likes him too and all that. There's buzz about it. And I believe they got together and had Katniss and Prim. Yeah, I believe it's true. Another thing that caught my attention from page 16, whenever Haymitch mentions about town girls don't marry scene boys, reminds me back in the first book, from what Peeta said about his father, that Katniss's mom ended up with a a boy who basically sings to birds and all that stuff. You know what I mean? So gives you a really good hint. We get to know that Haymitch has 20 slips in the reaping, and why does he have 20 slips in there? So the reaping is from age 12 and 18, as we all know, and each year there's one slip added. But if you sign up for Tezzeret, that gives you a year load of food supply for your family, and for each member, you get an additional slip in there. And since he's fifth year in the reaping, and 3 people plus you had to put an extra one anyways, that gives you 20. All right. So whenever the version of Effie but meaner, Drusilla, she somewhat somehow plays a role later. Drusilla Sickle, she sees 12 as the face of evil. Kind of foreshadows like a little bit that happens a little later, like how they're like a bunch of people who like hates the Capitol. The people who are reaped are Luella McCoy. She lives 3 houses down from Haymitch. That is in the seam. She's pretty smart, and yeah, she gets raped. And then Maisie Lee Donner. She is one of the daughters of the Candy Man, whose business is basically candy. So she gets raped. Wyatt Callow. So his family are like betting people who makes bets of the odds and all that stuff. So he gets reaped. And he was actually very close to getting out of the reaping. He was like almost 19 years old, but nah. So he got reaped as well. And then the last Trebue who gets reaped is Woodbine Chance. He's the most handsome guy in District 12, and his head gets shot and explodes. Thank you for watching, and see you in Chapter 2 of Sunrise of the Reaping.